The 2019 season of the Australian Ultimate League would not be possible without the support of our league partners. Today's match is brought to you by the following team sponsors.
You're playing Sydney, which is obviously a very strong team. What do you have in plan to stop them?
Yeah, they're a very talented team, and I think especially they're going to really want to look to use their speed in terms of the deep looks. They've got a lot of really powerful throwers, so we're going to try and force a lot more passes, force them under, force them to do things that make them uncomfortable, and hopefully that will cause some Ds.
Nice. What do you think will be your main challenge in this upcoming game?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of receivers on that team that are very difficult to stop. So I think putting a lot of pressure on those players, I think is going to be a crucial thing for us.
And are there any matchups you're really looking forward to seeing in this game?
Yeah, there's some very talented players on the Suns. I think Alex Ladamatos is one of the best handlers in the country at the moment. So I think Timothy's Copland's going to be a great matchup for him. Girls-wise, Holly Reeve and Kaya Weir are just really great full field players, and so I'm excited to see Ash McInnes and Eley Young match up against those two.
Great, thank you. Good luck in your next game. In this next game, are there any matchups you're really looking forward to see?
So we're going to play against the Perth team, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how we battle out against ASHEP. Alex Shepherd is a really talented player on the rise, and we're going to have to think carefully about how we can put a matchup who can it's impossible to stop him, just contain him to some extent.
So what do you think Perth's biggest strengths are, and how are you planning to stop them?
They've got some really skilled receivers, and who I think will use the space downfield quite well. So we're going to be trying to use our tactics to try and make them throw a few extra passes and give them the shorter options where we can. Because their receivers are really a strength of their team.
Great, good luck at your next game. That's perfect.
Thank you.
And welcome to the 2019 Australian Ultimate League match between the Sydney Suns and the Perth Power. It's a chilly one, but these two teams are bringing the heat. My name is Max Tenstrom. I'm joined in the booth by Sarah Crossy for what's going to be a matchup full of fireworks.
Yeah, good to be beside you, Max. Sydney and Perth. Perth starting out on offense. And Eunice Chung just turning that one over, giving Sydney a very short field to work with. They'll be very grateful for that, I'm sure.
Regaki picks up the disc, half a dozen metres out, and a quick backhand to Rosie Dawson.
28, Rosie Dawson. I'm sure that won't be the last time we are mentioning her as a goal scorer.
She's very effective everywhere on the field, but she is lethal in the end zone. You can see why, with pace to burn and timing to envy. Difficult matchup. Gets the first runs on the board for Sydney as they go up 1-0 early in this one.
And Regaki throwing the goal. Over from the Melbourne Flames this season to the Sydney Suns. but he's not unfamiliar with a lot of these players, having played with a few of them on World Games teams and probably against quite a few of them on the Nationals fields. At 25 years playing experience, he has the most experience of any player in the AUL. How great is it that he's still going?
He's got more years playing than probably a lot of these players have been alive. I'd be willing to hazard a guess. Ali Lim playing that central handler role with Shepherd at the back.
Oh, that's good defense from Mark Evans, but they get it off, and he's going to pump that deep to McInnes. Just overthrows it.
We'd have a slight breeze going left to right on our screen, so that downwind throw has that tendency to sail away. But you know, there's not a lot of juice behind that wind, and these players have to take that into account when weighting their throws. Ash Evans, the draft pick, or one of the draft picks for this Sydney team, goes to work. Evans underneath, Evans going deep. There's only one thing that's going to happen, and that's a huck. Got Alexander on this near side. Ash Evans doesn't want to risk the hammer. Instead goes the backhand to Sarah Perkins.
Beautiful throw across the field to Perkins for the score. And just like that, Sydney are up 2-0.
Lovely bit of offense there from the Sydney Suns.
Yeah, Mark Evans doesn't need to be asked twice to put that long. Beautiful throw to Ash Evans.
Yeah, he's never met a deep cut he didn't like as a thrower. And the fact that that was into the wind, not slowing him down an inch. Some lovely sideways movement initially from Sydney. Hit their underneath cut. And then find Ash Evans streaming deep to get things started. Perth not really able to get much traction defensively. They're an athletic team. I'd expect it's just a case of dialing in those matchups.
Yeah, they won't want to go down too far too early in this set, because for a team like Sydney, they won't give you a chance to come back in. And they're playing a very tight defensive set on them at the moment. Eunice Chung gets away to Gan, who pumps it deep.
And it's Kylo that elevates over Eley Murray-Young. And a lot of traffic.
Back to Wentworth.
Murray-Young puts it out in front. Mazurai can only tap the disc as it flies past him.
Yeah, that's a pretty basic execution error. It looks like we've got an injury sub here. Simone Ryan coming off. She's going to be replaced by Ash McInnes. Hopefully nothing too serious. Maybe a cleat to the ankle.
And with these limited rosters, every injury is just so punishing on the rest of your team, because it means they have to pick up your workload.
Yeah, and Perth Power will be hoping that Simone will be back out on the field soon, because she can be a very dangerous player offensively and defensively for them. Regaki with the disc, he winds up. It's a bit underthrown to Dawson, and
The no-look block.
Oh, Chung gets the block, and Rosie Dawson almost grabs it up anyway. But it's a turn.
Regaki on Gan. Two very different players, but fun to watch them go chest to chest. Kylo, inside backhand to Gan. So they go coast to coast, sideline to sideline.
And again,
fail at the last hurdle.
Throwing behind a player. Sydney won't be asked too many times before they put it in the goal. Mark Wee has a go this time. Beautiful throw. Weir to Dawson. I said we wouldn't hear her name too far gone, and she scored her second goal. But Kaya Weir, wow, superstar of the future, I think, right there.
Coming in, looking at this roster, I thought to myself, there's a number of players on this lineup, Holly Reeve, Kaya Weir, and Dave Andrews that are the stars of tomorrow. And the question is, coming into a competition like this, are they ready to do battle with the stars of today? And I think the answer, at least for Kaiawea, is a strong yes.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to like about Kaiawea. She had a very dominant national season with Rogue this year, impressed a lot of people. She's aggressive on the disc, she has a great read, she's athletic, and for someone for her height and frame to be as aggressive and agile and fast as she is it just makes her an absolute weapon. Mark Evans is going to put that one up, way up. And Alex Shepherd's going to take it a few metres outside his end zone. Pass it back to Simone Ryan. Good to see her back on the field. And that's just a drop from Eley.
Latamatos connecting with Mark Evans behind the disc. The two Colony teammates didn't get much of a chance to play together this season. They were leading their respective Colony outfits. But Holly Reeve with the crossfield blading forehand onto the break side. That's a nice looking throw. Finds Ash Evans.
Yeah, there's a lot of throwing talent on this Sydney team. We're up to 4-0 already. Yeah, Perth really have to stop the hemorrhaging now, or they're going to find themselves on a very unfavourable scoreline in this first set, and maybe take some mental scars into the second. Already the body language isn't looking great, and they've got to find a way. Max Howden, again coaching the Perth Power, needs to find a way to get his team up and into this game, or it's going to be over.
And the turnovers that have come have been largely unforced from Perth. We saw in that last point. Eley, just a cold drop on pretty regulation catch for him. It wasn't the first one of those we've seen from Perth. A couple of wayward throws as well that were really gimmies. And as you say, Sydney pretty brutal in punishing those mistakes.
That pool looks like it's gone out the back.
Will be a brick for Kylo. See Perth playing the 2-4 horror. We saw Sydney opt with the 3-3 previous point, or a couple of points ago I should say. Gan, oh, very open, going deep. The throw doesn't come. Does leave Mazurai wide open in the dump space. But it's Gan. Unmarkable, even when there's two defenders. Back to O. Eventually a mark arrives in the form of Ash Evans. And Monty Mazurai.
Latamatos in a foot race to the corner. And they're on the scoreboard at 4-1. Yeah, there's a lot of very quick disc movers on this Perth team. Chung, Carlo, Gan, they all have incredible speed of release and also foot speed, so they can be very dangerous.
Particularly those first couple of steps from Gan and O and Chung.
They're gone.
And once they're in front, you know you're not catching back up.
Yeah, both, interesting enough, Chung and Carl O listed as their frisbee strength, their distribution skills. And I think we saw them on display just then. I guess for both of them, I'd like to be able to see them look a bit upfield as well. They both have penetrating long throws, and you'd hope that the Perth team can take advantage of those as well.
Speaking of those penetrating throws, Tom Rigacki has some of the best, particularly going upwind. The wind is starting to stiffen. It'll be just enough to make them think twice about the longer throws into the wind.
Oh, won't make Tom Rigacki think twice.
And puts a lot of demands on your control and the edge that you put on the disc.
Oh gosh, Rigacki to Wentworth. Two of just the ageless wonders in our game.
And he plucks that one out somehow. Dave Andrews, big undercut marked by Eley.
Beautiful, round them up, break to Wentworth. Oh, Weir picks up the scraps. Eley did 90% of the hard work, but just can't get that disc down to the ground. And Sydney, the luck is rolling with them at the moment, and so are the points. 5-1. They just look composed, Sydney, don't they? They don't look at all concerned if their first look isn't coming off. And when you've got Tom Regacki at dump, you could see the go-go gadget arms at their full use just then. It's the benefit of having a very tall
Benefit of being
handler.
6'6", yeah, helps. Yeah, even against Timocles Copland, who's no slouch in the height department, just gets dwarfed by Tom Regacki. And you were talking before about him having the most playing years of any player in this competition. I'm sure Sarah Wentworth isn't far behind in that category.
Yeah, she's been playing for 21 years.
Oh, just 21.
Just 21.
Wow. Gann unleashes another backhand. Murray Young and Alexander.
Oh, I like this matchup.
And Murray Young gets the better read.
Great position. And this time she finishes. That's a nice goal. It's a good steadier. It keeps them alive at 5-2.
And 7 minutes remaining in this first match. Or just under, I should say.
Yeah, there's still time. I just got to be close enough when that final whistle goes.
We've seen them get those offensive holds. No breaks yet, and that's what's required to bring this back. Monty Mazurai showing his end zone offensive skills, going one-on-one with Ash Evans and leaving him in his dust. Getting that one for Perth to take it to 5-2, narrow the gap to 3. But the work remains for this defensive unit.
It's Regacki and Wentworth, the elder statesman of the team, taking to the field with the youngsters. Mark Wee being one of them.
He was a late addition to this team. Mike Neal, of course, injuring a hand.
Oh, he's gone. Regacki throws a massive hammer to Rosie Dawson. Here's another one of the youngsters. Dave Andrews. Guess who scores it?
Rosie Dawson,
Rosie
hat-trick.
Dawson.
Hat-trick to her name early in this match.
Yeah, she's racking up the stacks.
And it's pretty clear that Perth don't really have a good answer for her. Or at least they haven't found one yet.
Yeah, she's had quite an impact already offensively on this match, but I really think she's one of our standout defensive players of the century. In ultimate, she just has all the components of it that you want in a defensive player. She's got speed, she's got agility, acceleration, footwork, field awareness, and something more than that. She's just got this frisbee intelligence. That means she'll let you have a cut once, deliberately, so she can get the block on you next time. So we'll see how much Sydney use her in the defensive department, but at the moment they're happy for Letta to score the goals, and why not? It's paying dividends at 6-2.
Another rolling pull out the back into the reeds.
Carlo says, I'm not getting that. New disc on the field.
Again, going with that 2-4. We've seen Perth default to. Not a lot being generated downfield out of it. Mazurai gets open again on Ash Evans. Kylo and Alex Latamatos dueling.
Yeah, some interesting matchups out here. Murray Young with Danny Alexander. She seems to be getting the best of that matchup to date. She puts it around to Ash McInnes. Oh!
Reaction bid from Ash Evans. That's a combination of reflexes, length, and explosiveness. Get Sydney that block. Carlo wearing the green and gold socks of the Australian under-24s as Latamatos shoots deep.
Puts that up. That is a beautiful shot. He knows it. Puts up the finger. I'll take the assist. And Perkins scores the goal on her rogue teammate Eunice Chung. While Latamatos lists as his strength an overinflated sense of ego. Not sure that we saw it on display in its fullness there, but that is a very nice shot.
That was a nice throw.
And if your ego matches the throws, why not?
Look, I think you're allowed to have one after you come home with a US National Championship. There's not many, in fact I'd be willing to say only one player in Australia currently that's got that under their belt, and he's that player. It's a rare accolade, and why not flaunt it?
Yeah, just missed out on the double this season with the Australian National Championships. His team, Colony, coming in with the silver medal. We'll be looking to get some retribution, I think, in this league.
So with just over a minute remaining of play, it's not a great situation for Perth. At this stage, pretty unlikely. I'd be willing to say nigh on impossible for them to come back.
Oh, cheeky little throw. Little too cheeky, particularly when you've got Ragaki in the area from Alicia Lim.
And he fires for Kaya Weir. That's going to float.
Yes, and Alex Shepherd will see that down. Not a great option from Ragaki, but you can see why he'd want to be punting it deep to Kaya Weir. Alex Shepherd returns serve to Simone Ryan. My goodness.
That's a massive throw. And
It's just glorious.
punishes Ragaki for sitting under Ryan.
Just glorious. Length of the field. And don't they enjoy that one?
It's a great throw, and it's a great way for Perth to finish this first set despite going down in pretty convincing fashion. Hopefully an opportunity for them to find some momentum for the next set. So as the players take a break, so are we as we get a word from our sponsors. welcome back to set 2 of the Sydney Suns taking on the Perth Power. It's been all sunshine so far, despite the cloudy skies here at the AUL Stadium. Perth, no real response so far. They went down 4-0 in that first set before notching up a couple to make it a little more respectable. But Rosie Dawson racking up a hat-trick of goals to her name. Unguardable. And Perth not able to generate that defensive traction and slow down the Sydney offense.
Yeah, listening into the Perth coaching circle in that break, I had a bit of a split message. They're happy for their players to take risks. They acknowledge this is a quality team, Sydney, and you're going to have to take risks to win. But they also wanted them to maintain control, and they said, watch out for those poachers. The Sydney players just want to get these players done and these points done and dusted. But if they can keep control of the disc, then they keep control of the game. So we'll see how they go, balancing those two messages of
possibly
risk
conflicting messages
and control. I think they may have to roll the dice a bit more, Perth. But we'll see. They've started with a poach in the lane there from Annie Jessup. Alex Shepherd is lurking deep.
And they move it to this near side through the hands of Evans and Reeve as Perth transition into a bit more of an honest match coverage. Perth pretty comfortable switching. The hammer for Ladamatos. Timocles Copland can't get up. He goes early, and he goes too early.
Yeah, Mark Evans gets away with one. He puts up his hand. He's lucky that his Colony teammate brings that down. But they start how they finish. It's 1-0 up.
Maybe he heard or overheard the messages given to the Perth team about taking risks.
Your risk. I don't think Mark Evans needs to hear any
any
messages about taking risk.
No,
His coach, Carly O'Brien, already going up to him. Maybe just giving him the raised eyebrow. She doesn't need to say any more.
The Sydney huddle in that break, opting to have a couple of minutes not focusing about Frisbee. They said no Frisbee talk for 2 minutes, switch off, give them time to reset and come back and treat this next set as a fresh match, because really every set is just that. It's worth championship points by itself.
Yeah, look, it's an intense format for the players because they have to be switched on the whole time. You don't really know where the timekeeping's up to. You probably don't even know where the points are up to. That's very tight team defense from Sydney, and it's resulted in Murray Young having to put one up. Rogacki pulls it down and fires straight back to Wentworth with a hammer. This might be time to put the hammers away, Sydney. Hammer time was like 1992, I think.
Oh, so when Tom Rogacki was at his prime?
When the disc was in the discman.
And Perth will go the other way. Mazarai. He's been a bright spot for this Perth team.
Yeah, hasn't he just?
Generated a lot downfield.
Look at his work rate. He's just working very hard, but...
Commentators curse as soon as you compliment him. Dave Andrews, credit to him, gets a nice block.
Rogacki picks it up again, looking for the end zone. Hands it off to Wee.
Jeez, Tom Rogacki's a conundrum, isn't he? Every year we say, oh, as Kai Ware puts that one down.
Can't hold on.
Yeah, every year we say Tom Rogacki, you know, he's past it. He's over the hump. He can't keep doing this. He's surely too old to keep dominating play.
I've never said that in my life.
I think maybe it's been a bit more wishful thinking for those who've had to play against him every year.
He's an amazing athlete. And a real legend of the sport.
I'm sure similar things have been said about his dump, Sarah Wentworth.
Oh, puts it up.
2-on-1,
Dave
but Dave Andrews!
Wow, he says you can't touch this. It's still 1992 as far as Tom Rigacki is concerned. And Dave Andrews, 2 players on, he brings it down. He's the replacement Andrews. They just switched out one for the other. They had Rob, big brother Rob last season, and they've brought in the younger model.
Controversial, I'd say they upgraded models.
There's been a bit of that talk. I got to see a little bit of the game of Ellipsis and Colony at Nationals this year, and the brothers were matched up against each other, and I'd say that David came out on top.
Yeah, it's certainly been. I'd agree with that, Crossy. It's been an upgrade from one to the other. And they've also traded out Tom Tullett and got Tom Rigacki. So
Tom
some
for
significant
Tom,
changes.
Andrews for Andrews.
That's right.
Yeah, a lot of changes for Sydney. The biggest loss, I mean, Mike Neal, obviously huge, but to me the biggest loss and question mark was Peter Blakely. Not available. His beautiful wife Megan has just had their second child, but he was just dominant last season.
He was the season MVP for a reason.
And here goes Perth again, trying to keep back in it with their risk control. Oh, puts it just over the top of Simone Ryan, and it's a turn.
And it'll be Alex Latamatos takes things back into control. Seems like he and Rigacki sharing that pivot handler role. As Holly Reeve lofts one for
Wants
Mark
to see
Evans.
a contest. Oh, Mark Evans responds. Points it out beautifully for Alexander. Wow, Holly Reeve, probably not your best throw, but Mark Evans
Jeez, that's a heat check for the Sydney Suns.
takes care of business.
Mark Evans is feeling it today. Seen some big throws
Yeah,
and gets downfield.
they're on a hot streak, and that's just as well because it's freezing here in Melbourne. I have to say today. It's pretty cold.
It is.
I don't know what all this talk of 4 seasons in one day. There is just one season at the moment, winter.
Winter.
And
I'm sure the Canberra team is loving it.
yeah, the freeze
The
would
freeze.
be just basking in their natural habitat. But for the rest of us mere mortals, it's quite unpleasant. And Rosie Dawson.
Leads the
Look at her
charge.
go.
So fast.
She'll be matching up against Eunice Chung, a matchup that she had a lot of in the national season. Chung puts it up. There's a lot of people in the way, but McInnes just waits for them to fall.
That's right. Finds Gan.
That's look, it was risky. It came off for them, but I think that's what they've got to do. I think we just saw the perfect mix of risk and control right there.
The message is finally coming through.
I mean, you question the coaches, but there's a bit of genius, maybe.
Well, Max Howden and Vivian, no strangers.
Visionaries of their time.
They are indeed no strangers to the coaching job. Very good at it. And clearly delivering the messages their players need to hear in order to be successful. It's taken them a little while to find their stride though, but we're getting there for Perth. McInnes doing really well to read that throw.
All right, well, Perth find themselves on defense. We'll see what Sydney can manage. On offense, they're coming charging down. Latamatos in his outrageous leggings, picking it up and getting things going. And we're halfway on the time front in this second set. It's 10 minutes to go.
And at 3-1 up, Sydney are in a good early position in this second set.
Ooh.
As Timocles Copland gets a hand on that and Latimatos somehow recovers. Alexander totally unmarked in the midfield.
Completely alone. Annie Jessup coming to pick her up now. Skipping into place.
Evans underneath. Latimatos has Alexander very deep, and he'll fire. And why wouldn't he? But Pete Eley's in pursuit.
No,
Won't matter.
That's too good.
Will not matter.
Way too much rope given to Danny Alexander. My Annie Jessup, you can't leave her that free. She's such a good long high target as well. That Latimatos doesn't have to be asked twice for that one.
And it makes your receiver's life easier, and you got throwers like Evans and Latimatos on the line. You know they can draw a bead on your chest from just about anywhere else on the field. And they do just that. Waiting for an opportunity to open up and then firing with laser-like precision.
Ragaki putting up the pool. Gee, there haven't been a whole lot of court pools so far.
Coming in fast on that edge. As Perth working up the far side to Chung. Murray Young going deep. And it's Kyle O that provides that release valve when they need it. Murray Young shoots. Alex
Puts
Gann.
that bladey forehand up to Gann. He pulls it down. Gee, she's doing a lot of work, Murray Young, in that midfield. She's just getting perpetually free, and it doesn't matter who's marking her on that case. Sarah Wentworth. Yeah, her, Mazurai, Chung, Gann. They're working very hard. And they're still in touch in this set. It's 4-2 to Sydney.
And with a bit of time left on the clock, it's believable that this game is very much alive.
Yeah, they really need a big defensive point here. I think this is the point where they need to take their stand.
They've been pretty systematic and committed to these two lines of six. They haven't tweaked these groups a lot, if at all, this match. And understandably so, with groups that haven't played a lot together, take advantage of what little chemistry you can, keep them together in smaller groups. But players like Mazurai, Gann, and Murray Young, some very powerful defensive players. I think that's a strength you'd like to see them take advantage of at times. Reeve. And Evans shoots to Perkins. Jessup.
Whoa!
Loses the
Bubbles
read.
it, but grabs it on the way down. Perkins, she is a really good receiver. She's got a very good read on the disc. She can grab it high. She's not a particularly tall player, but she just again got that bit of separation. And Mark Evans is going to shoot for that.
Sydney pretty reliably getting open deep, and the thrower's happy to rain it down upon them. Perth haven't found a way to contain the deep option or even really contest it very strongly so far this match.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult defensively if you've got these kind of powerful throwers. You know, if you start giving up if you start overprotecting the deep, they're just going to slice you through the middle on the short game. But you have to question, they're probably giving up a little bit too much deep. maybe make Sydney work it up. And we've got 5 minutes to go. Carlo bringing it up to the brick mark. Whips that out to Gann, who just overshoots Murray Young. It's just a consistency issue for them. They have flashes of brilliance, but they're just flashes.
That throw coming out with a lot of outside in edge on it, which is not what Alex Gann would have wanted. Rigaki, hammer crossfield to Wentworth. Finds Wee for the continuation. Dawson streaming to the end zone.
Lovely throw to Wentworth downfield,
Oh,
and she's
Dawson.
gonna feed the Dawson. Comes up with another goal, another stat.
Just leaves Murray Young wondering what just happened.
Those two, Wentworth and Dawson. They played on the 2017 Crocs together. They're very good friends. They played with Manly in this national season's just gone by, and I had the privilege of joining them on that team. They are just thoroughbreds. They're just such solid / spectacular players.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think solid probably undersells a lot of what they do. I mean, it is solid, but it is also
Maybe it's
spectacular.
spectacularly solid.
Indeed, indeed. You're right. There wasn't a highlight field moment. There wasn't a layout. There wasn't a big throw or a big grab, but they just do all the little things so well. This is what has been Perth's defensive line for some of this match.
Oh, Alicia Lim just throwing it straight to Latamatos.
Latamatos, arcing forehand,
Be the-
Ash Evans.
The death knell, you'd have to think,
You would.
for the second set and for the match coming on. Alex Shepherd, so dominant in last year's AUL, really hasn't been able to have the impact that he's had last season in this game to date.
No. Again, it was something we commented on with this team last year, that they lacked a central kind of pivot handler, that general, that quarterback kind of role.
Yeah.
And they still largely lack that. Kyle O is probably the closest to that role that they've got this year, but even he, I think, thrives best in flow, in motion, as a release valve and as a disc distributor, rather than that general in the center of the field around which all else rotates.
They're doing a very nice job of working it up at the moment. But when you have these quick distributors like Chung, like O, like Gann, it does mean it's very difficult to get a long game going, because they're spending so little time with the disc in their hands. Murray Young throws that signature bladey flick, which I love, into the end zone.
But as they demonstrate there, equally, that core group, when they get moving
Yeah.
and dynamic, no one holds a disc for more than 2 seconds. The flow is beautiful, and it's incredibly difficult to stop. And that's the kind of offense that Perth either need to fully commit to or fully commit not to, I feel.
Yeah.
It's maybe that lack of clarity about, are they going to play the big throwing, aggressive, high risk, high reward kind of game, or are they going to play that dynamic style that maybe comes more naturally to a lot of these players?
It does.
Give it a go, release and start running kind of style.
It does, and I think you're right. I think they've got to back themselves into the ladder of this fast movement, but it is inherently a risky game.
And just like that, time is over. The whistle will go, and the result for that set will be in the books.
There's one throw. There's a bit of confusion about whether there is or not.
Everyone runs to the end zone. Timocles Copland calls a stall out. And just like that, the second set wraps up in pretty similar fashion to the first, dominating Sydney Suns' performance. And Perth Power still unable to find some consistent offense. So as the players take another break, so are we, but don't go anywhere as we bring you more action from the Australian Ultimate League. And welcome back. Set 3, and it is time for the Perth Power to get some chalk on the board. Sydney Suns have been all over it so far this match. Coming out of this second break and into the third set. I know Perth very keen to get this final championship point. I had a quick listen into their huddle and tweaking just a few little technical things in terms of their buffers and what spaces they're trying to control. So they're staying focused in on this match, keen to lock down a single point from this one and not let Sydney run away with it.
Yeah, there's a bit of pride on the line, surely, from the Perth Power. Let's hope we get to see some of that beautiful flowing offense that we were talking about at the end of that second set that they can produce, because it's been all Sydney really this match. They've already got their 2 sets and bonus championship point, but they will not take their foot off the accelerator. They want all 3 points, I'm sure. All 3 sets and that 4th championship point.
Could well make the difference come crunch time at the end of this season. Kyle, he had a nosebleed in that last break, but it looks like he's all cleaned up. Nice inside backhand.
And Eunice Chung just fakes Rosie Dawson out.
Mazurai elevates, finds Murray Young coming up that far side for support.
Open as always, Murray Young. Kiwis ended up on Mazurai.
Chung. Backhand around the stack, and Ragaki just gives it.
Assisted to McInnes.
If he hadn't touched that, that was surely into the ground.
Oh, there a call here? Surely not. No, it's a goal.
No call. Eunice Chung dodged a bullet on that one. She knows it. And Perth open up the third set. Maybe not in
Yes,
precisely the way
indeed.
they would have liked, but they certainly get the outcome they were looking for.
Risk and control.
Not sure if there was any control involved in that particular series of events.
Oh dear.
I think we saw what Chung was looking for. Loved the idea. The execution maybe leaving a little bit to be desired.
But it's the outcome that matters in the end.
It is.
And they've got the first point in the third set. Maybe on their road to redemption. Alex Shepherd and this D-line, what can they do against this very solid Sydney team?
Inside break from Holly Reeve.
She's going to go for a trundle deep. There's no one on her.
Shepherd is in the region though. And he's always patrolling those deep lanes. Shepherd works hard to deny Evans that under space.
You can see the real contrast in offensive styles from Sydney and from Perth. Sydney, not as nearly as quick disc movement. They're very happy to sit and look for the right option. They've got resets from their dumps. They're looking at their on-field options. There's a call that we're going back for.
Got a travel.
Maybe a travel.
On Evans.
But it just looks patient. It looks measured.
Looks controlled.
Yeah, they know that they've got a backup. They know they're with the likes of Latamados and Reeve and Mark Evans. That they've got that outlet.
And Evans
Here comes the hammer.
points and shoots.
That's a very nice throw.
You almost,
I'll say from the halfway mark, just pumps it in.
and you almost feel like by putting him under pressure when he catches it, that slight little rush of adrenaline when you catch a disc under pressure, fires him up to look for that next extra aggressive shot. Shepherd right on his hip as he caught that, and you could see Evans immediately shape for the aggressive huck, and his eyes were nowhere else but that end zone.
Yeah, look, as a handler, when you do have that very close or a layout bid, your neurosensors do start firing because you're thinking, I don't have a mark on me that's balanced, that's ready to put pressure on. Here's an opportunity to break this field open with a break throw or with a long huck. Ironically, that pressure is completely relieved. But you just got to make sure those sensors aren't firing too much. Great defense there from Mark Wee on Carlo. And again, works hard to give Eunice Chung an outlet. Oh, Sarah Wentworth almost pops it up for the Callahan, but that was just fantastic team defense.
Yeah, a lot of pressure on the first couple of looks available, forcing Perth onto their third option. Rigaki on the end zone. Dawson goes up line. Instead opts for the swing to Wentworth. Back to Rigaki. Has a lot on the break side. Goes with the scuba.
Scuba to guess who?
Rosie Dawson.
Number 28, Rosie Dawson.
If you're playing fantasy at home, ladies and gentlemen,
And you don't have her on your team,
you're a fool.
it's hurting you right now. It's hurting you.
She racks up stats like it's going out of fashion. And crucially, unlike some other big stat getters, doesn't have throwaways that go with it.
Yeah, she's extremely solid on that front. Yeah, I'm sure Tom Rogacki is enjoying playing with the likes of Rosie Dawson, Sarah Wentworth, and Kaya Weir. But you see there with that Perth offensive quick movement structure, if you get a really athletic team like Sydney who's able to clamp down, it looks frenetic. And the options are probably clogging and shutting down quite quickly, and you don't have that, you know, some would say stationary, but you don't have that structure that Sydney has to fall back on.
And credit to the Sydney defenders there for making them look like that.
Absolutely.
Mark Wee played some excellent defence on Kyle O. And of course Wentworth played some great defence to get the block.
Annie Jessup, she's been quiet this game.
Shepherd finds Copland. Shepherd provides the around option. Ryan. Give go with Eley. Shepherd. Perth slowing down. The two Colony boys taking control at the back. Shepherd and Eley. I should say ex-Colony. Eley now playing as ultimate here in Melbourne with Ellipsis. The forehand over the top. Eley plucks it from above Alex Latimatos' head.
Yeah, well played, Alex Shepherd. That's the general role that we're talking about. That, you know, ideally you don't want him playing because he's so talented downfield and so dangerous. But yeah, I don't know. I think Perth needs him to still play that role despite their off-season acquisitions to alleviate otherwise.
I totally agree. That point looked much more controlled from Perth than some of the previous ones have. They concede some of that fluidity and dynamism, but they retain possession and they get a goal. And that's what matters. Alex Gann, nice pull, going back down the other way. Rogacki looks deep. Mark Wee
handed off to Rogacki.
And Eunice Chung boxes him out.
Body boxed him out.
Gives up 4 inches and probably 10, 15, 20 kilos maybe on him.
Oh, didn't Max Howden love that? Busts out a move.
That is some great defensive fundamentals from Eunice Chung. Showing Mark Wee who's boss.
Mazurai a bit isolated, but Uni Chung's going to come in and get it back.
Dave Andrews marked up on Kyle O, a Goanna, on the head coach of the Goannas. I'm sure there's a little bit of pride on the line.
Eunice Chung, she's working very hard and she's being made to by Rosie Dawson, but she's getting open.
Kyle O shoots long. Mazurai on Wee. Mazurai does well to hold space and then attack the disc.
That's textbook, that is.
So as we pass the halfway mark of this match, it's now 3-2 to Perth. Sorry, of this set. It's 3-2 to Perth. And they've started to hit their stride.
Yeah, we talk about playing for a bit of pride, bit of reputation. Well, they're firing up here, Perth.
And it's individual plays like the one we just saw from Eunice Chung and from Monty Mazurai that get a team going. Lift the energy levels. Which can be crucial in this 6-on-6 format, which is significantly more demanding, I think, than the 7-on-7. Doesn't sound like a lot, but there's a lot more space to cover, both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, we are seeing both teams predominantly just playing match defense because zone is very hard. Just that one less player, as you're saying, it just takes up one less space on the field and can make you vulnerable on the defensive side of things.
And these roller pulls,
They're continuing, aren't they?
yeah, they're in fashion, and understandably so. They're very effective. I think we've only seen 1 or 2 stopped.
Well, they've isolated Ash Evans on Peely, but he's pulled that out. Oh, and Holly Reeve tries to push that one to Alexander, but too much arc on it.
Ryan looking for Lim.
Alexander's going to snaffle that out of Lim's hands.
You saw her lurking behind.
Yeah,
She wanted that throw to go up.
baited that one. Yeah, crucial point here. Oh, and another flat. Too low huck from Mark Evans, and Copland cleans that up.
The poachers come in for Sydney, making life difficult. It's Shepherd that provides the release. He goes over the top. Simone Ryan.
It's a good option. Ryan's got at least 10 centimetres on Perkins. She's excellent in the air. Wow, this is making it interesting.
Perth up. Looking to get that championship point back that we were talking about. And they're making it happen late in this third set.
Six minutes to go. Yeah, interesting. The mental side of this 3-set format is fascinating for both the team that's down, if you're down 2 sets to love, and for the team that's up, if you're up 2-0. And Sydney just looked unbeatable in those first 2 sets, and you just wonder if it's that little foot off the pedal or that little incentive from Perth to get a point.
And it shows you really just how flat this competition is, that things can change so quickly. Dawson on the end zone. She'll add an assist to her swag of goals for this match.
She finds the unageable Wentworth, oldest player in the AUL. Her goal she put was to retire gracefully and move into coaching. Please. Please, Sarah.
Probably got
Wentworth.
another decade of play in her though, I reckon.
She's got another decade. She can make 50 easily. 5 minutes to go. They made quick work of that, Suns. They are not going to relinquish this championship point and this set without a fight. There's probably some of the most competitive individuals in Ultimate on this team.
They can't help but try full force to chase every single point. They just do not like losing, which is a great attribute to have. They're great competitors.
It's Alex Shepherd and Alicia Lim lead the team down the field.
Copland taking on that role that Eley was playing earlier, is that dump, but he heads downfield. Eley looks to throw it to him.
Yes.
Reeve in pursuit.
Beautiful throw. Peter Eley. Yeah, Copland's spending a little bit of time in and around the disc. I'm surprised we haven't seen that from him more. But they've pulled it out in the third set.
Interestingly, in this third set, it feels like Eley's come back a little bit more than earlier in this match, spent a bit more time in that handler and dump position.
And I think that's the format they went with last season. I think we saw Eley and Shepherd doing a lot of disc control from the back and busting deep occasionally. And that same format seems to be paying dividends deep into the third set.
And here comes the defensive unit for them. In that zone look, Chung almost had a look at that one. As they transition now. Float one up,
Oh,
Dave
too
Andrews, but
far.
Monty Mazerai.
Mazerai comes through.
He's a one-man highlight reel.
Yeah, just a few errors creeping into the Ragaki's game. Oh, but Mark Wee sees that a mile off. Ragaki's quick to get to the disc. McInnes has just taken a tumble. I think it's just going to be a pick call.
And as time counts down with 2 minutes remaining, if Sydney punch this in, things could get pretty exciting. But they will discuss exactly what happens here.
Oh, it's precious time, isn't it?
The clock doesn't stop.
Yeah, it looks like she's going to catch up a little bit to Wentworth. Rosie Dawson all alone's going to tap the disc in. Wentworth back to Dawson. We works. Oh, Eunice Chung! Oh, she's come alive in this third set.
She may well be Mark Wee's kryptonite.
Wow, he was just powering to that corner, and she just powered with him. Her turn of speed and acceleration, similar to Dawson, is amazing. As a really lovely put goes up from Gan to Murray Young. Oh,
That throw from Murray Young had hearts in mouths on the sideline.
not pretty, but it's come off for them, and now they're beautifully spreading the field, and Monty Mazerai gets the score. Oh, you've got to think that's got to be close to the game, the set winner rather. Oh, Max Howden is looking very happy with his charges.
Eunice Chung
And Viv Ewan. Yeah, Eunice Chung. Wow,
just owns Mark Wee right now. 2 great blocks on him.
she's single-handedly just turned this set on its head. And that's what you want. I
And-
remember coaching her in her first ever nationals in 2015 for Rogue, and we said to her, we're going to put you as a handler. We think you've got handler material. And she said, I can't play a handler. She said, I'm fast. And I was like, yeah.
Handlers are allowed to be
Exactly.
fast. Just because sometimes they're not doesn't mean they're not allowed to be.
And she's really, oh, there's one throw, it's all over. But she's matured from this shy player into just a machine. Well, well done, Eunice Chung, and well done to the Perth Power. That is a really strong third set. Sydney, I think, will be disappointed they didn't come away with 4 championship points from that game, but you can't take anything away from Perth. That was a very clinical and uplifting finish to that match for them.
And that's all she wrote on this match. Sydney going up 2-1. Perth keeping their pride in that final set, showing they can mix it when they really turn it on, including on the back of a stellar performance from Eunice Chung. And we'll leave it there, but do stay tuned to the Australian Ultimate League.